In the vast tapestry of American history, traditional sports have served as more than mere pastimes. They've been mirrors reflecting societal shifts, cultural fusions, and the relentless march of progress. Across the Americas, from the bustling stadiums of the United States to the vibrant pitches of South America, these activities evolved dramatically during the 20th century, adapting to industrialization, immigration waves, technological advancements, and social upheavals. What began as indigenous rituals or colonial imports transformed into professional spectacles that captivated millions, fostering national identities while occasionally highlighting divisions. It's almost amusing how something as simple as chasing a ball could encapsulate the complexities of a continent. But then again, humans have always found profound meaning in playful competition. Let's begin with the roots, for no evolution story is complete without acknowledging the origins. Long before European settlers arrived, indigenous peoples across the Americas engaged in sports that blended physical prowess with spiritual and communal significance. In North America, Native American tribes like the Iroquois and Algonquian played lacrosse, a game dating back to at least the 12th century. Known as the Creator's Game, it involved teams of sometimes hundreds using sticks to maneuver a deerskin ball, serving purposes from training warriors to resolving disputes between tribes. Down in Mesoamerica, the ancient Maya and Aztecs participated in the Mesoamerican Ballgame, or pacatalk, a ritualistic contest played on stone courts with a heavy rubber ball struck using hips, elbows, or knees. This wasn't just sport, it symbolized cosmic battles between light and darkness, often with high stakes including human sacrifice for losers in some variations. These pre-colonial activities laid a foundation of athleticism tied to culture, but the 20th century would see them either marginalized or revived in modern forms, like lacrosse becoming a collegiate staple in the U.S. while the ball game inspired elements of contemporary Latin American games. As European colonization took hold from the 16th century onward, traditional sports began to intermingle with imported ones. In what would become the United States, British influences introduced cricket, horse racing, and early forms of football, soccer-like rugby variants. Horse racing, in particular, became a social event for the elite, with tracks sprouting up in the South where enslaved Africans often served as jockeys, adding a layer of irony to the sport of kings. In Latin America, Spanish and Portuguese colonizers brought bullfighting and cockfighting, blood sports that emphasized bravery and spectacle, deeply embedding themselves in cultural festivals. By the 19th century, as independence movements swept South America, these activities started evolving. Bullfighting, for instance, adapted local flavors in countries like Mexico and Peru, where it mingled with indigenous pageantry. Meanwhile, in the U.S., urbanization in the mid-1800s spurred the formalization of sports, with baseball emerging from English rounders and town ball. The Knickerbocker Baseball Club's 1845 rules standardized the game, setting the stage for its 20th century dominance. Entering the 20th century, baseball in the United States solidified its status as America's pastime, a title that stuck despite the occasional yawn-inducing inning. The formation of the American League in 1901 complemented the National League, leading to the first World Series in 1903 between the Boston Americans and Pittsburgh Pirates. This era saw the rise of legends like Ty Cobb, whose aggressive style earned him the nickname the Georgia Peach, though his prickly personality was anything but sweet, and Babe Ruth, who revolutionized the game in the 1920s by emphasizing home runs over small ball tactics. Ruth's 60 homers in 1927 not only boosted attendance but also helped baseball recover from the 1919 Black Sox scandal, where players fixed the World Series, reminding everyone that even heroes have clay feet. The Great Depression of the 1930s tested the sport's resilience. Teams cut salaries, but innovations like night games under lights, first at Cincinnati's Crosley Field in 1935, kept fans coming. World War II depleted rosters as players enlisted, leading to the short-lived All-American Girls Professional Baseball League from 1943 to 1954, where women like Dorothy Schroeder showcased talent that challenged gender norms, proving that the diamond wasn't just for men. Post-war, baseball's evolution accelerated with integration. Jackie Robinson's debut with the Brooklyn Dodgers in 1947 broke the color barrier, a monumental step amid civil rights tensions. His poise under racism's glare paved the way for stars like Willie Mays and Hank Aaron, who shattered records while enduring threats. Aaron received death threats en route to surpassing Ruth's 714 home runs in 1974. Television's advent in the 1950s broadcast games nationwide, turning regional teams into national brands. The relocation of franchises, like the Dodgers moving to Los Angeles in 1958, reflected America's westward expansion and suburban growth. By the 1960s and 1970s, labor issues emerged. The Players Union, led by Marvin Miller, secured free agency in 1975, escalating salaries and strikes, including the 1994-95 lockout that canceled the World Series, a bitter pill for fans who felt the game had lost its innocence. Yet, baseball adapted, incorporating designated hitters in the American League in 1973 and expanding internationally, with Latin American players like Roberto Clemente from Puerto Rico becoming icons. Clemente's humanitarian work and tragic death in a 1972 plane crash while aiding earthquake victims in Nicaragua underscored sport's broader societal role. Shifting south, baseball also took root in Latin America, particularly in the Caribbean, evolving from U.S. military occupations and trade ties in the early 20th century. In Cuba, the sport arrived via American sailors in the 1860s but boomed post-1898 Spanish-American War, with the Cuban League professionalizing in 1900. Players like Adolfo Luque starred in MLB during the 1920s, bridging cultures. The Dominican Republic saw similar growth. Sugar mill workers formed teams, leading to the establishment of the Liga Dominicana in 1955. By mid-century, scouts flocked to the region, signing talents like Juan Miracle and Pedro Martinez, who dominated U.S. mounds in the 1960s and 1990s. In Venezuela and Mexico, winter leagues provided off-season play for MLB stars, fostering a cyclical exchange. The 20th century's political turmoil, such as Cuba's 1959 revolution, altered trajectories. Fidel Castro banned professional sports, turning baseball into a state-sponsored amateur pursuit, yet Cuba's national team won gold at the 1992 Olympics, thumbing its nose at capitalist leagues. American football, another North American staple, traces to rugby and soccer variants but diverged sharply in the late 19th century. Walter Camp's rules at Yale in the 1880s introduced the line of scrimmage and down system. The 20th century began with brutality concerns. 18 deaths in 1905 prompted President Theodore Roosevelt's intervention, leading to the forward pass legalization in 1906. The National Football League, NFL, formed in 1920 as the American Professional Football Association, with Jim Thorpe, a Native American Olympian, as its first president, adding a touch of historical symmetry given football's rough-and-tumble echoes of indigenous games. Early decades were shaky. Teams folded amid financial woes, but stars like Red Grange drew crowds in the 1920s. The 1930s saw rule changes for safety, and the 1940s integrated with Kenny Washington joining the Los Angeles Rams in 1946, predating Robinson in baseball. The post-war boom came via television. The 1958 NFL Championship, dubbed the greatest game ever played, between the Baltimore Colts and New York Giants, captivated viewers with its overtime drama. The American Football League, AFL, rivaled the NFL from 1960, merging in 1970 and birthing the Super Bowl, first held in 1967. Joe Namath's guarantee and victory in Super Bowl III in 1969 epitomized the era's swagger. The 1970s introduced Monday Night Football, boosting popularity, while the 1980s saw dynasties like the San Francisco 49ers under Joe Montana. Racial progress continued. Doug Williams became the first black quarterback to win a Super Bowl in 1988. By the 1990s, commercialization soared with billion-dollar TV deals, though concussions and player strikes highlighted downsides. Ironic how a game glorifying hits began questioning its own violence. College football paralleled this, with the NCAA's growth. The Bowl Championship Series in 1998 aimed to crown national champions, evolving amid scandals like recruiting violations. In Canada and the northern U.S., ice hockey reigned, evolving from 19th-century stick-and-puck games on frozen ponds. The National Hockey League, NHL, formed in 1917, initially Canadian but expanding southward. The original Six era from 1942 to 1967 featured teams like the Montreal Canadiens and Toronto Maple Leafs, with legends like Gordie Howe defining grit. The 1970s brought expansion to U.S. cities like Los Angeles, diluting talent but broadening appeal. The 1980 Miracle on Ice, at the Lake Placid Olympics, where U.S. amateurs defeated the Soviet pros, captured Cold War symbolism. Wayne Gretzky's trade to the Los Angeles Kings in 1988 popularized hockey in non-traditional markets, leading to Sun Belt teams. Labor disputes, including the 1994-95 lockout, marred growth, but the century ended with women's hockey gaining traction, culminating in the U.S. women's gold at the 1998 Nagano Olympics. Basketball, invented by Canadian James Naismith in Springfield, Massachusetts, in 1891 as an indoor winter activity, exploded in the 20th century. The Basketball Association of America, BAA, merged with the National Basketball League to form the NBA in 1949. Early stars like George Mikan dominated the 1950s, but integration with Chuck Cooper in 1950 opened doors. Bill Russell's Boston Celtics won 11 championships in the 1960s, embodying team play amid civil rights struggles. Russell faced racism yet became the first black head coach in 1966. The American Basketball Association, ABA, from 1967 introduced flair like the three-point line and dunk contests, merging with the NBA in 1976. Magic Johnson and Larry Bird's rivalry in the 1980s saved the league from drug scandals, while Michael Jordan's Chicago Bulls in the 1990s globalized the sport, with 6 titles and cultural icons like the Air Jordan sneaker. Women's basketball evolved too. The Association for Intercollegiate Athletics for Women regulated college play until Title IX in 1972 mandated equality, leading to the WNBA's launch in 1997. Turning to Latin America, soccer, or football, dominated the 20th century landscape, evolving from British introductions in the late 1800s to a cultural phenomenon. In Argentina, British railway workers founded clubs like River Plate in 1901. By 1912, the Argentine Football Association professionalized. Uruguay hosted the first World Cup in 1930, winning it and establishing South America as a powerhouse. Brazil's flair, epitomized by Pelé's 3 World Cup wins, 1958, 1962, 1970, blended African rhythms with European tactics, reflecting the nation's diverse heritage. The 1978 World Cup in Argentina, amid military dictatorship, mixed triumph with controversy. Victory on home soil boosted national pride but masked human rights abuses. In Mexico, the 1970 and 1986 World Cups showcased organizational prowess, with Maradona's Hand of God goal in 1986 becoming legendary folklore. Women's soccer lagged but gained momentum late century, with Brazil's Marta emerging in the 1990s. Other traditional pursuits in Latin America evolved uniquely. Bullfighting, a Spanish import, professionalized in Mexico with arenas like Plaza Mexico opening in 1946, drawing crowds despite animal rights critiques. In Bolivia, Caleta wrestling, women in traditional Aymara attire grappling, emerged mid-century as empowerment amid indigenous revival. Auto racing, influenced by European circuits, boomed with Formula One drivers like Argentina's Juan Manuel Fangio winning 5 titles in the 1950s. Tennis saw stars like Chile's Anita Lozano winning the U.S. Open in 1937, while golf and volleyball spread via U.S. cultural exchanges. Boxing bridged North and South, evolving from bare-knuckle brawls to gloved bouts under Queensberry rules. In the U.S., Jack Johnson's 1908 heavyweight title as the first black champion sparked race riots, while Joe Louis's 1938 rematch with Max Schmeling symbolized anti-Nazi sentiment. Muhammad Ali's 1960s to 1970s dominance, including the Rumble in the Jungle in 1974, fused sport with activism. In Latin America, Panama's Roberto Duran and Mexico's Julio Cesar Chavez dominated welterweight divisions in the 1970s to 1980s, embodying machismo culture. Tennis and golf, upper-class pursuits, democratized somewhat. In the U.S., the U.S. Open tennis tournament, starting in 1881, saw Althea Gibson break color barriers in 1950. Arthur Ashe's activism in the 1960s to 1970s highlighted apartheid protests. Golf's Masters tournament began in 1934. Tiger Woods' 1997 win revolutionized diversity. In South America, tennis clubs proliferated among elites, with Brazil's Gustavo Kuerten winning 3 French Opens in the late 1990s. Horse racing, once colonial, waned in the U.S. due to gambling bans but revived with the Triple Crown. Kentucky Derby, 1875, Preakness, Belmont. Secretariat's 1973 sweep remains iconic. In Latin America, hippodromos in Argentina and Chile hosted prestigious races, blending with polo, an elite sport from British influences. The century's social currents profoundly shaped sports. Immigration waves, Europeans to South America, diverse groups to the U.S., infused new styles. Radio and TV amplified reach, from the 1921 Dempsey-Carpentier fight broadcast to ESPN's 1979 launch. Women's roles expanded. Billie Jean King's 1973 Battle of the Sexes victory over Bobby Riggs symbolized feminism. Indigenous sports revived. Lacrosse leagues grew, honoring native roots. By century's end, commercialization reigned, billion-dollar endorsements, stadium megaprojects, but challenges like doping scandals, e.g., 1998 Tour de France echoes in baseball's steroid era, prompted reforms. Sports in the Americas evolved from ritual to industry, uniting diverse peoples while occasionally dividing them, a testament to human ingenuity in turning play into profound narrative. And if that seems overly poetic, well, consider how a simple game can inspire such epic tales, almost as if we needed an excuse to run around and cheer.